What is up, everybody? Rural Audio here today on episode 85 of The Harder Show. How are you? I hope you're doing fantastic. Thank you so much for tuning in, clicking that play button on today's episode of the podcast. Got a very fun, cool episode for you here today, guys. Actually, a two-parter this week. I sit down with my good buddy, Mr. Michael Ant from Forsaken Empire, the vocalist and the guitar player of Forsaken Empire. And we shoot the breeze, we talk about his start in music. We talk about his time as a student at Gigs Music. We talk about kind of his journey to learning the guitar, lyric writing, playing the guitar, gear, all that kind of stuff. We even talk about playing guitar through a potato, but we'll get to that in a little while, because you're probably going to wonder what the hell is going on when we start talking about it. But it's a really great podcast. Michael was definitely a great guest. This is the first kind of thing he ever did, kind of an interview type situation, so I was honored to be able to kind of be the first interview for him. And for a couple people I've had on the show, I've kind of been their first interview-esque person, if you will, even though I always say, I don't really do interviews. I do hangouts. If this was an interview podcast, it would just be the worst, because they'd be like, so what do you think of this? I just stare at them blankly while they answer. Whereas, I'll put in my 2 cents and stuff if I feel the need to. But it's a great podcast. We actually have a little shout out to our boys beyond the wall. I do a little pun in there that I know they would enjoy, the dad joke pun, so to speak, if they would really enjoy if they hear it. So shout out to those guys. Shout out to everybody else too in Forsaken Empire. I think I want to have all the guys on at some point. It's just, there's all these things I want to do, but it's just, time is my enemy and my friend in a lot of ways, because lately I've been having 2 days off in a row, which is great, but if those 2 days don't work out for certain people, it's really hard for me to schedule podcasts on any other day. But hopefully, heading into the new year, we'll be able to kind of get that going more. I need to have the Beyond the Wall guys back on for their part 2, their more serious podcast, because we said we were going to do that in November and it just didn't happen, because that's just how it goes sometimes when you're busy. I got to have Lee from We Are X on. He's talked a lot about being on, and I want to have him on very badly. I got to have Steven from Out of My League on for a podcast. I got to have Ali on from Out of My League for a podcast. I feel like I got to have Mav back on. There's so many people I want to have on the damn podcast. There's people out who aren't necessarily musicians or anything I want to have on the podcast. I want to have my good buddy Raph from the Thing About podcast. I would love to have him on sometime, just kind of shoot the breeze. I think that'd be a really fun episode. I'd love to have the Fork Found guys on, or one of them on, to do a podcast. I think that'd be fun. There's tons. There's a couple guys from the wrestling podcast I'd love to have on to talk some wrestling. There's a couple of my buddies I haven't gotten on the podcast and I want to get on, because I think they'd be really fun guests. So, there's just time is a beautiful, wonderful thing sometimes, but it can also be a harsh mistress if you don't use it wisely. And sometimes I guess I won't use my time as wisely. But trying to book people to be on the podcast is hard. I need a secretary. That's really what I need. I need a secretary. I need like a studio, where we can just like meet for like 2 or 3 hours and knock out a podcast or two. I think that's the thing, is that people are surprised. Like when Michael came over, we did 2 podcasts, and I think he was surprised with how long it actually took to get through 2 podcasts, considering that they're only an hour long. But I think it surprises people when they sit down and see how much work you actually have to put into it, and if you have to stop if something happens, or if there's sound issues or anything, like unfortunately there was with this. Last week was a very long week. If you guys didn't listen to episode 84, which was basically just me complaining and venting with Garrett the entire time. A lot of, I was drinking, a lot of swear words and stupid jokes. I roast everybody, and Garrett roasts everybody, and I roast myself. And it was just, it was a bit of a crapshoot, but I still think it was funny. I listened back to it just the other day, because I didn't really remember what we talked about. I wasn't like drunk or anything, but like, I had a few beers, and I was having a beer or two when we were doing it, and I couldn't really remember what we talked about. And looking back, I was kind of like, oh, I didn't even realize we talked about that. And So, but either way, thank you, Matt, for having a sense of humor, because Garrett basically roasts you the entire time. Garrett, thanks for coming on and complaining with me, and telling some stories and stuff. I think that was, I needed that big time. Even if some people were kind of like, what the hell? Like, what's up with this podcast? Like, someone messaged me. They're like, dude, like, what the hell? Like, you don't usually like just complain the entire time you're on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, that was a Vendcast. But either way, because I did have some audio issues with these two podcasts I did with Michael, I do apologize if they sound a little bizarre. It is continuing in post-editing that I keep having issues. While I'm recording the podcast, everything will sound great. I'll listen to it back when the person's sitting there. It'll sound great. And then for some friggin' reason, when I go to edit them, it sounds like crap. There's static and there's background noises. And it's a real pain in the ass. But I think I'm getting it figured out. I don't know why this is such an issue. I think it's a mixture of my computer and a mixture of the programs I'm using and blah, blah, blah. But heading into the new year, we're going to try and get all that sorted out, because I'm sick and tired of having to, apologize for this kind of stuff, because, I have these awesome guests on, and they give me everything they got, and they answer questions, and they are awesome to have on, and then you'll come back and listen to their podcast, and they'll go, oh, like, this sounds like crap. No one's ever said anything like that to me before, but just, I know that it's got to be frustrating for them. So heading into the new year, hopefully we can get this figured out. That podcast I did with Garrett, we were actually doing some fiddling, and I think I figured out what a lot of the issue is, and it's actually my outboard gear. So we'll figure that out, all that kind of fun stuff, blah, 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 blah. Not going to waste any more time. I want to roll into this podcast here with Michael. It's a great, great podcast. If you are listening for the podcast for the first time, welcome. I hope you enjoy it. Be sure to check out other episodes of The Hotter Show. Seriously appreciate it. There's tons of different ways you can listen, and you can hit me up on all the social medias and everything. But you're probably here to listen to Michael talk about some stuff. So let's get into it. Alright, so we're hanging out in the kitchen, ladies and gentlemen, of Hotter Show Studios, aka my basement apartment, with a guy I've been trying to get on the damn podcast for definitely since I started. We've been kind of trying to plan this out. We've been waiting for the opportune time, and that is today. You guys know this man as the frontman extraordinaire of a very awesome local band by the name of Forsaken Empire. I also know him as one of my favorite students of Gigs Music and a regular customer. I've known this guy for a while. I've kind of almost, I guess, in a way, watched him progress throughout his musical journey in a way. So again, I'll somehow there for a little bit. But Michael Ant of Forsaken Empire on the podcast. What's up, buddy?
Not too much.
I had to mess up your last name there like 3 times.
Well,
that's
yeah,
okay.
that's yeah. You got to do it at least once.
You got to do it at least once.
Tradition at this point.
That's exactly what has to happen. So we've been trying to make this happen for
like 2 years.
It feels like when I started doing the podcast, there's all these people who hit me up and were like, yo, like, we want to be on the podcast. So I'm like, yeah, like, absolutely. And I think the whole thing with us is we were kind of waiting until you guys like had something to kind of play or release that was like an original. But it's just to the point where, like, you know what? No, we're just going to do this. Because it's just...
We're too slow in the writing process. Shame on us.
Shame on you guys. The world needs Forsaken Empire quick.
Yeah, debatable sometimes.
Debatable sometimes.
I mean, we got Evan Pettigrew as our guitarist. Why?
Like, why? Like, is he still rocking that knockoff Strat?
Well, yeah, obviously.
That's just his thing.
I mean, he got an SG finally.
That's
so
good.
He's got something a little bit better. It's an SG Pro by Epiphone. So...
Excuse me. a pro. Holy crap.
It's a nice guitar, though. It's a nice guitar.
Yeah. Well. I mean, hey, who cares what the model is, or what the make is, or anything? If it's a song,
if it sounds
it's a nice
good,
playing guitar.
If it sounds good, then it counts.
Absolutely. So I have my little list of questions that I've been doing the last little while when I have someone on. I don't do interviews. I do hangouts. But I have interview style questions, so we just kind of wing it. Interview hangout. You come to my house, you sit at my kitchen table in my kitchen, literally. And my cats come wandering around and stuff whenever they appear. And they usually like to come in like halfway through the podcast.
I'm actually surprised I haven't seen one yet, to be perfectly honest.
I am too. They're probably sleeping because they're lazy. But that's okay.
Means we're not loud enough then.
Yeah, it means we just need to be louder and louder. Hopefully, the fridge is not a problem.
Or the fridge will turn on.
This is just what happens. You're like going to school for production, all this kind of thing, and you have all these nice clean production stuff that I've heard. And then you come to me, and I have this podcast I've been doing for over 80 episodes, and I've got all this
Boom,
like cheap
fridge.
gear, and then fridge, and like all this stuff, and it's just like this is not a professional podcast, folks. But that is okay because we have fun here on the
as
show.
we said, as long as it sounds good, it is good.
Absolutely. So, kind of getting into it. I have a lot of stuff to ask you, but it's more today. I kind of want to more focus on like you personally and music and kind of your journey to music and guitar and all that kind of thing.
The sentimental stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So what, when did you first like really get into music, and what was like some of the first music you were exposed to?
First time I kind of got into music was probably beginning of grade 9 and to grade 8-ish,
Okay.
give or take around there. My friend Jessica Leonard, who I'm sure you've probably heard that story. Yeah, that whole thing. My whole grade group from elementary school kind of got into some of the stuff that she was into, I guess. She was into a lot of like the Sleeping with Sirens, the Bring Me the Horizon, the sort of metalcore style stuff. And so I had a friend who was really, really probably closer to her than I was, who got me into, I want to say it was Falling in Reverse first, I think. That was kind of the first band that I sort of started listening to. And then from there, I kind of developed my taste a little more in about grade 10, where it was more the sort of the Green Day, the Sum 41, that kind of stuff. That phase lasted longer than it should have.
It's still going.
Still kind of going a little bit. But yeah, that's what got me into guitar was I watched a... Oh, well, there you go.
Speaking of Green Days, my guitar player magazine I got is a Billy Joe on
that
it.
guitar looks strangely familiar.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I've seen this guitar before.
Yeah. But yeah, I was watching, I think the first time I got into Green Day, I was watching a show it was like Japan or some stupid place like that. I don't know.
Somewhere that wasn't
here. And I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. They're actually playing live music that's not dubbed over. I was a huge fan of that. I was a massive fan of that, of someone actually doing a live show properly. And I was like, wow, I've got some respect for that. So that kind of got me into guitar, and things just sort of progressed from there.
So what would you say is like kind of like your earliest music memory? Like as far as like when you think back, like, what was the first music I ever heard?
First music I ever heard was back when I lived in Windsor. So that's where I came from. So probably 14 years, maybe more potentially. I'm probably pretty wrong, but my dad used to play. He had this huge vinyl setup that he used to DJ a long time ago, and he had this huge old vinyl setup, and he used to play Dancing with Myself all the time, just absolutely blast it in my house. And that is one of the fondest memories I have of my sister, myself, and my dad just like dancing around in the front room of our house. And my mom just kind of sitting there in the background, just like face palming as we're just like, she's like, no, he's converted them.
He's converted them. It's over.
Good times. That and Phantom of the Opera was played around my house.
There you go. It's an interesting start to the...
Yeah, when you think about it, it's a bit of a whole spectrum change there from like Phantom of the Opera to
Green Day and rock and metalcore and that kind of thing. But I mean, that's the thing is like, I mean, I say people like my first musical memory was Led Zeppelin.
Well, yeah.
But like, it doesn't necessarily mean that like that's going to be my musical taste forever. It's just a first kind of music that you're exposed to. Yeah. Do you still listen to Phantom of the Opera and that kind of thing?
I don't go out of my way to listen to it, but if I hear it, I'll have a moment of just.
This is prime. This is
the good stuff right here. Oh, actually, speaking of that, there's a video of I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's like some kind of animal. It's like ferret looking, and it does like the Phantom of the Opera song, and it's like someone who's it's hilarious. I'll have to show you later.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
It's so funny. It's like a ferret who's just like screaming, and it's so.
Oh, okay, yeah. Someone like dubbed it or whatever. It's like, okay, I got you.
It's the best.
Talk about like how music get into that kind of thing. When did you first kind of just go, you know what? I want to play guitar. When did that kind of first hit you, I guess?
That's a good question. Honestly, I think it was, I don't want to say forced upon me, but when I started sort of getting into the Green Day stuff and stuff like that, my dad came home one day from work with a 3/4 acoustic guitar. It was just like, yeah, so this is a thing. Actually, before that, he called the house and was like, So when you picture a guitar, yeah, what kind of colors do you feel? And I was like, I don't know, that's a weird question. I hadn't really thought about it beforehand. But yeah, he came home with this acoustic guitar, and I kind of started playing from there.
Right on. Did you like? So you're saying it was kind of forced upon me, but did you like kind of in a way, I guess? Did you kind of want to sing or play guitar first, or have you always kind of done a little bit of both? Or
I've done mostly a little bit of both. I mean, my grandfather is actually like a huge singer in the sense that he's like goes to choir and all this, and
cool,
like stuff like that. So it's in the family, but
it's in your blood to sing.
That and my cousin has also played guitar in a band for a long time. So looking at kind of growing up, I'd always watched those two. Because at family gatherings and things, they'd always used to either play guitar or sing together, and my family's always been pretty close, so that was pretty big for me to getting into actually playing music and singing both at the same time. It took me a while to learn how to play guitar and sing at the same time. That was not easy for me. But
not an easy thing to do. I still can't, so I mean, you're doing better than me. I still can't do it.
Oh.
So what age were you when you actually like first picked up the guitar?
First picked up a guitar probably grade 8, I think, was the first time I'd actually, like, when that guitar got brought home to me. But the first time I started, like, really playing guitar would have been when I'd started sort of discovering the Green Day and the Sum 41 and things like that. So
around grade 8, grade 9.
Early grade 9, mid grade 9, yeah.
Cool.
That's my first start.
Same time period as me. Right on. That's when all the cool people start playing guitar.
Yeah, obviously. Time of your life for the win.
Time of your life for the win. So you kind of touched on this already, but what exactly was that first guitar that you got? Like as far as like the...
It was a Denver 3/4 guitar, so it was an acoustic. I still have it. I think it still has the original strings on it. Nice. I don't think they ever got changed from when I got it. I don't think I ever broke one either, to be honest with you. They're probably absolutely disgusting right now, but like I haven't played that thing in probably over a year.
Well, if it's at 3/4, I mean,
it's still hanging on my wall in my room, like ceremoniously, but
always keep it. If there's one thing I can say, every guitar you have that has any kind of sentimental value, keep it. Do not get rid of it. Don't even sell any guitars. Just keep all of them, because one day you will turn around and go, wow, I wish. The amount of guitars I have sold that I wish I still had. It's disgusting.
just gross.
It's not even funny. But so that being kind of your first guitar and your first, like, in a way it was a beginner guitar and that kind of thing. But what was kind of like the first guitar that you got that was like a legit, like, full size kind of 6-string electric or acoustic?
The first one, do you mean like the first one that's not sort of Walmart
Basically,
brand?
Yeah, the first. I mean, Denver isn't a Walmart brand. I mean, it was better than my first acoustic. Mine was actually from Zellers, so decent. But it's a decent. I still have a decent little guitar.
Rest in peace, Zellers.
Okay. R.I.P. Zellers. I miss you. Your restaurant was the bomb.
The diner.
I don't think anyone says that anymore, but I just did.
Oh.
What do the kids say these days? It was a Hundo P or something. I don't know. I don't know what the hell is going on anymore.
Nailed it.
I nailed that.
Spoken like a true.
Someone's gonna make a meme now of me like doing this. It's gonna be like a Hundo P. I'm gonna be Hundo P with you, fam. Like, I can't believe I just said that. Anyway, I don't know what was going with that. Zellers is cool.
Sorry, first guitar. First one that I got was probably my Dean, which you know very well from restringing many times. It's a cherry red Dean Evo electric guitar, which I've modded a lot throughout the years.
Guitar too.
Yeah, it especially is now. We drove to, I think it was Coburg, on like one of my birthdays. I don't remember how old I was at the time. Probably 15 or 16, somewhere around there. And went to this place. I think it's like Steve's Guitars or something like that. It's like Steve's
in Coburg.
Yeah.
That would have been. Was it almost like a? Not like it was in like a house. Like, yeah. Okay, it was. Oh my! How am I drawing a blank on his name?
It had a guy's name, and then it was like guitars and amps or something like that.
Oh my! How am I drawing a blank on his name right now?
I know.
Lon McQuaid bought it out. Oh my! He was when Geeks was in Coburg. He was like their competition. Oh my God! What is his name now? not Stewart's. No. Oh
I
my.
thought I could have sworn it was Steve's.
Steve's. No, maybe it was. I don't
I could be wrong.
think
I'm
it
probably
was.
wrong.
But anyway, continue
Yeah.
your story.
But yeah, I went in there and just pretty much just like played all the guitars in there for like 3 hours probably. My parents still tell me about that day and how like pissed off they were
It was a
internally
long
about
time
this.
to
They're like,
hit.
oh yeah, make sure you get the right one. Please hurry up.
And that's a small store to spend 3 hours in.
Oh,
Mom,
yeah.
you can kind of stretch out.
Oh,
And
yeah.
in there, it was like,
Oh yeah, no, but I kept on like I'd play that one and I was like, oh yeah, I really like this one. And then I'd go back to another one and just be like, oh, but I like this one too. And then I'd go back and play the other one. I was like, oh, but this one's so good.
so what were the ones that you were kind of like torn between? Do you remember?
Oh, that's stretching my memory. I want to say there was an SG in there.
Sounds about
I
right.
want to say there was. It would have been anything around the like used $300 range.
I
somewhere
think
in
most
there.
of his stock was used around
All of
$300.
it, yeah, all of it was used. Oh man, I can't really remember for the life of me. To
But
be
the
honest.
Dean Evo was the one.
The
that you
Dean stuck
decided
out
to-
for me, and the even funnier part about that story was I can't remember when it was exactly, but I found out probably 2 years later that guitar coil taps, and I didn't know that whole time.
Oh wow!
I didn't even know coil taps existed for like
So I remember like
Year
when
and
I
a half.
saw the guitar, one of the first things I did was pull the coil tap.
pull the coil
So
taps.
I was like, oh yeah, coil tap.
Like,
Like,
yeah, it's like yeah, it does. I found that out like a month ago.
yeah. So I remember you were like, yeah, I've had this guitar for like 2 years. I didn't know it did that. I was like, oh, okay, right on. I'm trying to look up the name of this damn music store. It's just bothering me, and my damn internet's not working. So I'm going to come back to that. But so would you say you're kind of always been more of an electric guitar kind of guy as opposed to
For
an
sure.
acoustic? Yeah,
For sure, 100%.
Hundo P.
Hundo P.
Hundo P fan. We only say Hundo P here on the Harder Show.
Yeah, no, it's the only thing we're gonna say from now on.
It's the only thing I will ever say from now on when I agree with somebody.
Hundo P.
Hundo P fam. It's gotta be, could be fam in there. So kind of talking about guitars and this kind of thing. It's funny because talking about that music store that I'm drawing a blank on the damn name of right now, and it's bothering me so much. I'm trying to get my friggin' internet to work and it's not working, and it's really bothering me.
Chrome's just pulling an
Because
absolute note.
Chrome was just not letting this unfold naturally here. Trying to be a broadcast journalist because I'm a broadcast journalist, you know.
We all know Chrome gives no fucks.
Chrome does not fucking care about your life or your dreams or hopes. It will just crush you. Here we go. Okay.
No.
Okay, hang on a second for your folks.
Obviously-
I need to look this up because this is bothering me.
Obviously, you have to connect on your laptop in order to make your phone actually connect to the internet.
Apparently.
Makes total sense.
This is what I need to do, apparently. And this doesn't even... I guess I believe out where I live here, out in the sticks of Newtonville, Ontario. You have even like been out here this way before?
Like twice.
Yeah. And it's like our internet out here, the signal comes from Newcastle
Yeah.
to here. So
That's
it's like,
rough. That's rough.
yeah.
Honestly, the closest I've been to here was playing a show at the Snug. That was the first show I ever played. Actually
yeah.
going on that sort of
Gigs
note.
Music still pops up.
Ooh,
Gigs Music's website is still why is it still a thing?
how fancy.
George's Guitars and
That was
Music
it.
in Coburg. That was the
George's.
name of it. George's. Shout out to George.
No, Steve, that's pretty much the exact same, right?
That's pretty much the same.
it.
I'm just clicking on Gig's website because I didn't know it was still active. But talking about guitar and all this kind of thing, it kind of brings us down an interesting line of questions. Because as I mentioned earlier, you were kind of like a regular student and a regular customer at the store. Like I saw you all the time, at least once a week.
I was gonna say probably too much.
Well, I mean, that was always my thing. Is like I was always so bored sometimes because it was so like I do everything I could possibly do, and I'm like.
Just kind of sit there.
So
I'd always just like walk in the store, just have music just sort of blasting in the background, just kind of sitting behind the desk. It's like,
I was kind of like, hey,
finally someone.
someone talk to me.
And you're just like,
I'm
yeah,
so lonely.
it's like, yeah, like 10 o'clock today, someone came in and talked to me for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then like it's been like 3 hours. It's been like 4 hours and no one's come in. Like I would like clean the guitars, make sure everything's good, do some paperwork or whatever, and then I'd just be sitting there like, come on, somebody. It was never that bad, but like some days it's like, oh, it would be so when you would like show up like half an hour early sometimes, it just made my life. I was like, oh my God, someone I can talk to. It's funny. I didn't know Gig's website was still active.
Oh my God, it's still
still active.
It's
the
still the
exact
same website from when I started going to gigs. Like,
Yep.
it's been the same website for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, because I just had no desire to. It has changed in the sense of the mobile is the exact same.
Yeah.
But the products changed. I know they changed because I was the one who edited them. Sure. But it's just I would like change them up. So just the last time I changed it, that's what it was stuck on. It's just funny. I'm just looking at this and like all the things are still there. Music. It's been like a year. Rest in peace, gigs. But I don't know why I find that so funny. Bad enough to sign. Amazing Grace.
Too soon?
Too soon? No, it's been too soon. I was going to do like an RIP Gigs episode, and I was going to have like Brandon and you and like Logan and like all like the people who like were regular customers and people who worked there, and we were going to sing like Kumbaya and shit, but I decided not to.
Save the whales.
Yeah, save the whales. Anyway, I wanted to do a candlelight vigil out in front of the store for them to get the sign taken down.
Oh, we should still do that.
It just breaks
the sign is still there, so we
it
should
just
still
breaks
do that.
my heart. The dude who they just anyway. Back to what we're talking about here. Segway City, bitch. Because you were a regular student at the store, I'm a broadcast journalist here, folks.
Okay.
You kind of remember like your first impression of the store and of your guitar teacher, the legendary the beard.
He was awesome.
Steve Jones.
He was the best. I still remember the first time that I came in that store. That Line 6 pedal. I don't know if you remember that. The effects pedal, the expression pedal.
Yes.
That was the first time I was in there. I think you guys had like just opened like a week or two in advance or something like that. And I was like, I think I want like a wah pedal, but like I don't really know because I didn't really know what anything was at that point. And just like I was trying to explain what I wanted, and you're like, that's not at all what you want. You kind of want that.
Was it me? Was I the one who?
It was you.
I was going to say it had to have been on a weekend then, because that's when I was just the part-time guy.
Yeah, it was you. And I still remember that because I came in with just absolutely no knowledge of anything.
Because it was probably the expression pedal. Because I have one. It was it the one that has like the 4
stop. It was the FB2 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
So it was the one that like you use to like switch your channel stuff as well. As it does have an expression pedal and a wah built in, but. If you don't have a Line 6, it's not going to help you.
Because I think what I was looking for was like a distortion pedal or something like that, or a channel switch. It was one of the two, and I was just like holding a wah pedal or something like that. And I had no idea what was going on.
I need this, and I was like, kind of like,
it's like this is a pedal. I need a pedal. I know that.
I remember this now. I didn't remember.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
It's like I remember this because like that kind of stuff would happen where like people would come in and be like, I need this. I'd be like, what are you using it for? They'd be like, this. I'm like, you don't
That's
need that
not
at
what
all.
that
That's
is.
not even remotely what you need.
How times have changed.
That's funny how, now I'm like having you try and help me figure out my thing here, Mr. Production over here. I'm like, hey, so like, do you have any tips for my setup here? It's funny how things turn out. Same thing happens now with like Brandon Hastings. Like I'll like message him and be like, yo, do you think I should get a 212 or 412? And like he's just like, oh, dude, you should get a 212 for this reason or whatever. And I'm like, it's funny how these things turn out. But anyway, so that was your first impression on the store, and
first impressions were honestly, I was like, I'm happy that they didn't just be like, just buy that, because that's honestly, I felt like if I went to Long McQuaid, that's probably what would happen. It's like, yeah, that's exactly what you want. You probably want to buy a second one too.
You probably need a second. Listen, here's what I'll do for you. You buy this one pedal here right now. I will give you the second one
and double the price.
Exact same price. That's just. I will never.
So true, it hurts.
I will never forget the first time I ever walked into a Long McQuaid. I'm just gonna bash on Long McQuaid for a second here. I walked in and I needed a singular friggin' machine head screw.
Wow,
that was all I needed. I didn't know what I needed. My tuning thing had fallen off like this little like button. I was with my grandfather. I had no idea what I needed. He didn't know what I needed. We had no idea. We just needed someone to tell us what we needed. So friggin', I walk in, I was holding my guitar. The guy's like, all right, come here, what do you want? And I'm like, something's wrong with my guitar. Like, I don't know what I need. And he's like, okay. Picks it up, slams it on the counter, opens the bag. Beaver Creek? The fuck is this? Like, this is what happened. I'm not making this up.
That's brutal.
And so then he looks and he goes, oh, you need a new machine head. And I was like, oh, okay, like how... Like what? I had the button. I just needed the screw. But like I didn't know. I'm like out in my dad's shop, like looking for a screw small, but I just didn't have any. So I'm like, where would I get a screw like this? He's like, I don't know.
Brutal.
And then he just put it away, handed it to me, and went back to playing the shittiest version of my Sharona I've ever heard in my life. This is literally what happened. And now I'm pretty sure he's the guy who's now running the Coburg store.
Wow.
So yeah, he's a douche. But anyway, then I went to Walter's Music and he gave me a machine head screw for no charge at all, put it in for me, and it was wonderful.
What a nice guy.
Yeah, they were great. Anyway, so your first presence on gigs and that kind of thing. When did you decide to start taking lessons? Was that kind of something you always wanted to do, or?
Actually, when I first started playing guitar, when I got that 3/4, they put me into lessons, which it was like a group lesson with like 30 people.
Oh, yes, that's right. I remember you mentioning that.
It was the worst thing I think I've ever done in my life. Like, it made me stop playing guitar.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Group lessons don't work, folks.
Don't do them.
Don't do it.
It's a lie.
Don't pay thousands of dollars to go to a college where one person's teaching 30 people how to play guitar really, really, really well. It's not going to work. I am not speaking from experience. I am speaking from a logical standpoint. Unless all of you learn the exact same way and are on the exact same levels, it's not going to work.
Calm down.
Please continue. Open a can of worms there.
Oh, man. Yeah. But when I eventually did get back into it, like back into guitar, I hit a certain point where I'd learned pretty much everything I could in the sense of, like, I knew power chords, I knew open chords, I knew sort of the basic ideas of stuff. And then I'd come to you guys a couple of times, and I knew you guys did lessons, so I was like, you know what? Maybe
these guys are complete dicks, so
of course I want to spend more time here. But yeah, that was kind of the idea, and obviously had the best teacher in the history of gigs music with the greatest beard.
I tell you, I haven't talked to Steve since that last time I saw him. And I pretty much talked to every other teacher, and just for some reason I just can't seem to get a hold of him. But man,
absolute legend.
First time I met Steve, like, he's the nicest guy in the world, so patient, great guitar player, great teacher. Bald, clean face, nothing, right? And by the end of his time at gigs in Bowmanville, full mountain man beard. And it was wicked.
It was the most beautiful beard in history.
He's just the beard. That's all.
He's a beard man. Absolutely nothing else. It's not like he plays wicked guitar or anything either. Just beard.
He just plays his guitar with his beard. Like, he just strings his beard and plays that like a guitar.
It's even better when, I knew him as like the classical guy for like the longest time. You're like, I should see him play metal. And I was just like, hang on.
Oh, dude. I always loved to tell that story too. Like, I came into the back once and he was back there covering a lesson for one of our other teachers who was an electric guitar student. So he's like, I guess I better grab an electric. And he grabbed like that one Yamaha we had that hung around the entire time we were there. And I sold the last day we were open. It was there for like 3 years. I ended up selling for like $20 or whatever.
I'm just happy you sold it.
Yeah, great guitar too. Like,
I think it's awesome.
And I handed it to him and he goes back and he's in the back and I walk by the door and like, all I hear is this like brutal shredding, like Michelangelo Badio, like just, I'm like, oh, like, what's he listening to? And I open the door and he's sitting there, like, just like blistering shred. And I'm like, he's like, oh, hey, what's up? Like, just like,
just no big deal.
Goes back to playing like Smoke on the Water. Like, I'm just like, what? So from that moment on, I was like, nah, you're like the secret shredder. Like,
you've lied to me.
You lied to me this whole time. How could you do this to me? It's just secret shredder full on. It was friggin' hilarious. But how, like, you said you kind of struggled with guitar at first. But when you kind of started doing lessons and that, how quickly did you kind of pick up the other things that you kind of wanted to learn and the things that you learned from Steve? Pretty
darn quickly. I mean, the cool thing about him was it wasn't just like, okay, this is something and this is how you do it. As in, like, this is a G chord. This is where your fingers go. Memorize it. Learn it.
Yeah.
This is a G chord. This is why it's a G chord. This is what makes a G chord. This is how you can play stuff on top of a G chord. This is what will fit with a G chord. Stuff like that. And that was honestly what I was looking for at that time, because it gave me opens up whole new
that little bit of theory knowledge that you're like, oh, this is a G chord.
Here's
why it is a G chord. Here's what you play over top of a G chord. Things that it's funny. Like I'm no theory at all. Not a single bit.
Other than that little bit.
So when he would try and explain things to me, like I'd just be like,
Yes,
I don't know what you're talking about, Steve. Like, I just you're barking up the wrong tree with me, buddy. Him and Dave, like they try and teach me stuff, and I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about. But do you remember what the first song you ever learned on guitar, and the first song you learned with him as well?
First song I learned on the guitar, I think, was Band on the Run.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure, but it wasn't like the actual version. It was just like the lyrics.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, it was like the chord version.
Yeah, and I had like this book. It was just like the easy acoustics or like easiest acoustic songs or something like that. And I think Band on the Run was the one I learned. I was just like sitting on a couch with my dad, and he's just kind of sitting there, just like, yeah, so stuff.
Yes,
just like it's like watching me try and do this. And the first song I learned with him, I think, was the intro to. I can't remember the name of it. It's like. It's like Gargoyles and Dragons or something. It's by it's like an acoustic intro to an extremely stupidly heavy song, and it's like complete finger picking. I can't remember the name of it. It's like an 18-minute song, but I learned the intro of it. I even
heard that song about what? Gargoyles and Dragons.
No, that's not the name of it.
Gargoyles and Dragons.
Christ, I'll have to think on that. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll remember at some point. It'll come to me.
Yeah. Just pipe up if you think of it. When would you say you kind of started, like, I guess getting a little bit more confident with your playing, when you were kind of like, okay, I'm figuring this out?
Do you mean like in the sense of actually sort of learning like theory-ish stuff, or actually like, being able to kind of like just play chords and like that kind of stuff? Yeah, and be like, I can sort of do this.
Yeah, like okay, I can kind of do this and like play a song and
Probably when I learned there was a solo in, I want to say it was like the Holiday solo or something like that. Okay. I learned that whole song, and I was just like, and I learned it in like an hour, and I was just like, wow, I did a thing, and I'm proud of myself for doing a thing. I think I can keep doing this.
I did this thing, and it was awesome.
Pretty much. And I still remember my sister just getting pissed at me because I kept on playing it over and over and over and over. She just came in my room and started pissing at me, just like I'm doing a thing.
Everyone leave me alone. My thing, when I did that, at the time there was a Metallica song that just came out off Death Magnetic. It was, oh my God. I still remember the riff. I'm drawing the name of the blank on the song. I just, it's off Death Magnetic.
It's probably Gargoyles and Dragons.
Probably, or Dragons and Gargoyles.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Change it up a little bit. And I played that like over and over again for like 3 hours trying to get it right. And finally, my sister comes in, because the way that our old setup used to be is my room was here and hers was right here.
Yeah, it was the same with mine, but we were facing each other. Like the doors were right across the hall from each other.
That'd be even worse. Yeah. And like my amp was on the wall that was her. So like she would always hear it beyond the wall, right? Shout out to Beyond the Wall.
Shout out.
Shout out to Beyond the Wall. And like she just comes in and like kicks my door and she's like, "Can you stop playing that fucking song over and over again?" And I'm like, I'm just trying to learn a riff.
I'm just trying, please.
I'm trying to learn a riff. You gotta leave me alone. That and Angry Chair by Alice in Chains.
Please don't hurt me.
Please don't hurt me. I'm just trying to learn a thing. I'm trying really hard here. All right, guys. Just want to take a quick second here to give a big shout out to the first ever sponsor and big time supporter of the Harder Show, my man, Mr. Jason Reese over at Jaybird Digital Arts. Now, what exactly does Jason do? Well, if you guys need any kind of logos, t-shirts, posters, album design, tickets, photo manipulation, you guys still with me? Advertising, business stationery, mailers, brochures, fine art, and literally anything else you can think of, Jaybird Digital Arts can create it. No project is just a generic template, and every single job is a new opportunity to create something unique. Jason's done all the Harder Show logos, t-shirts, banners, and even a meme here and there, so I can promise you that you will love and be inspired by what Jason comes up with. You can find him on the web at www.jaybird, that's Jaybird, digitalarts.com. Or you can find him on Facebook under the Jaybird Digital Arts handle, as well as on Instagram. If you happen to use his services, be sure to let him know that TJ sent you. Did you kind of always have the itch to like create music and riffs and that kind of thing? Like, was that always kind of something you were doing right from the beginning? It's like, I like me personally, like the first things I did on guitar was try and write. I had more of a desire to write music than I had a desire to like learn songs.
Honestly, for me, it was kind of the other way around. I was like, at first, I think I started guitar and I was just kind of like, okay, I kind of want to, be like these people I look up to. I want to write stuff. And then I realized how hard it was. I was just like, okay, you know what? I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon. So I just started, kind of gave up that idea and just started playing guitar. And then it was like grade 11 or grade 10 or something like that. And I just started just occasionally writing lyrics down and stuff like this. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of good at this.
I'm kind of good at this. So would you say you were kind of like almost a lyricist first? Or
100%.
Hundo P.
Hundo P.
We only say Hundo P.
3 Hundo P.
3 Hundo P.
Like, honestly, if someone were to give me the basics of a song and I'm in the right mindset at the right time, I will be able to write something. I can pump out an entire song in like an hour.
Wow, cool. Yeah, it's like, it's funny because just kind of talking about lyrics and that kind of thing, because I've always been the same way. Like, I was a lyric guy. And it would be like, even before I played an instrument, I had probably like 113, not saying any of them were good, but I had like 113 like pages of different song lyrics. And I was like, yes, these are my songs. Like, I mean, there was some wonderful titles such as Friends.
Perfect.
And what was the other one? What was the other one that was like just classic? I found it the other day, this big lyric book, and I was like, oh, what was wrong with me? What was the name of the other one? Oh my God, I can't remember. Gargoyles and Dragons.
Dragons and Gargoyles.
Dragons and Gargoyles.
That was on page 2.
Yeah, it was a two-parter. It was a double.
Well, I mean, seeing as that song's like 18 minutes, I mean, it's possible.
I mean, I literally wrote a concept album in lyrics. Yeah. So, as kind of just talking about lyrics, that kind of thing for a second. When you write lyrics, are you the kind of person that you'd rather kind of paint a picture and tell a story, in the sense of like you're telling this story of something that has happened or whatever, or are you like, no, like all my lyrics have to be completely 100% personal, or I can't get into them? Or are you someone who you like to kind of put out kind of vague lyrics so people are kind of like, what's he talking about? Like, because there's so many different types of lyric writers where like some people they'll be like, oh, they only use metaphors, for example. And then other people will just be like, it's so brutally raw and honest that you're like, damn, like what happened to this person? And like,
just like Beartooth, that last song on Disgusting. What's it called? Have you listened to that album?
I haven't, no.
Oh, okay, never mind. Then you wouldn't get the reference. There's a song that's just absolutely brutal, raw emotion like, at the end of it. Like,
what is happening right now?
Like, he's like crying as he screams this song. It's just like, oh my.
And like, that's like to me, I'm like, that's real shit. Like, that's like, when I hear bands put out lyrics like that thing, when like, I'm like, oh, like I can tell, like, yes, this is just like, this is a story, but then there was a time and place for that. You got someone like Don from My League, like when he was on some of the lyrics for their EP, like I was like, this has to be like some deep, meaningful shit for him. And like, he was kind of like, yeah, this is a story of this. And like, and I was like, really? Like, cause he's just like a master lyricist at this point. He's just like,
really good.
He's really good. And like, to the point where like, the guy makes me cry, for God's sakes. But,
please.
Like most people cried when they heard Recover. But
that was really, really good EP.
Yeah.
Shout out to My League.
Shout out to My League. One of my favorite releases of the year. But would you say you're like in that category of time, talk about like storytelling, lyrics, that kind of thing? Would you say you're kind of a certain type of lyricist, or you just kind of write whatever?
Originally, it was definitely just kind of a whatever thing. But now, as we're starting to sort of start writing this EP/album/ whatever you want to call it, it's turning more into a mixture of the emotional side of things, of like personal experience, because of kind of what went through with the whole Jessica thing and stuff like that. And I've also kind of tied it in. I've always been huge into like psychology and stuff like that. I've always found that like hugely fascinating and just really, really interesting. And so I've kind of mixed a sense of personal emotion into a sort of vagueness. I'll explain. As in, I'll write a lyric that's personal to me, but not referencing like a certain situation so that people can draw it to themselves as opposed to
perfectly vague.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it, although that's also pretty vague. But
well, that's the thing is, like my favorite lyricist of all times, he'd probably have to be, just because I love his lyrics, is Aaron Lewis from Stained, right? And a bit of a dated reference there, but I have a point. And like this master lyricist who writes these songs that millions of people, like, it saved lives and it made them feel better about all this stuff and that. And when asked about it, he's just like,
stuff
perfectly vague. He's just like, this could mean something completely different to me. You know, like, oh, like this song's about tacos. You know, but then like this other person's like, the song's about like the struggle of addiction, or like
exactly.
And it's just like,
I mean, it could be the struggle of addiction with tacos.
It could be, but like that's the thing too. It's like, I know like Sean Morgan from Seether's the same way. Like he'd be like, I don't like to talk about lyrics because he's like, what if my explanation sucks and you think it's about this like deep thing,
and just kind of destroy someone's life.
Exactly. You're like, oh, you mean the song's about like taking a dump? Oh, okay. Like,
exactly.
You know,
exactly. No, that's as dead on as you can get with a reference. That explained a whole lot better than I did.
But it's just like, what you're basically saying is, you're like, okay, hey, here's this lyric that I relate to and it means something to me, but it's vague enough. It's not like you're like, okay, I'm going to write a song about, you know, I dropped a 20 down the sewer drain and I lost it. So it's like, you know, you make a lyric like referencing that.
It's got multiple reference points. You can take it in different ways.
But it's not like you're like, you know, I dropped a 20 down the sewer drain. It's like, you know, like,
it's like, I'm sad about said event.
Yeah, but it's like, you kind of like make it a little vague, and then they're like, oh, okay, so then they could be like, no, the same about
so
like
deep.
Losing his, like, I don't know what I'm talking about here.
Down the sewer.
Yeah, basically. I'm always fascinated by lyrics and talking to people about lyrics and that kind of thing, because like I've always been like someone who's obsessed with lyric writing and that kind of thing, and like, I'm the guy who will get the CD and get the booklet and read through every
I'm the same way.
Word and go, I want to understand this song. I want to know what this song's about. Like, I'm obsessed with that kind of thing. So I always, especially hearing that like you're like kind of the same way, like you write all these lyrics and that kind of thing. It's like, which is why, you know, I'm very excited for Forsaken Empire to happen, because now I'm like, oh shit, like this is like,
this is not a paid advertisement.
It's just not a paid advertisement. They have not paid me money to do this, but that's okay. I mean, I am wearing my Forsaken Empire t-shirt,
rocking the shirt here.
But it's getting a little, you know, when you wear it as much as I do, it's just getting a little worn out, but that's okay.
I'm sure we can supply another one.
Yeah.
Seeing as how much you've worn it.
Yeah. Might need to buy another one for you guys, another custom order one. But kind of just getting off lyrics and that kind of thing, have you kind of always had the itch to, like, play music in front of people? And that kind of
that
thing?
one I can hundo P.
Yeah. Hundo P on
P
that.
agree with that one. Yeah, I've always thought that music is about expressing to people and expressing things sort of for yourself. So playing in front of people, especially people who are enjoying what you're playing, is a huge
That's the best.
The best thing you can do in the world, in my opinion. Personal opinion.
I think, one of the best things you can do is just when you get up on a stage or something, you're playing with people and they're enjoying it. Like, that's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, like the one thing I've always sort of dreamed of doing, which kind of sort of came alive for me when we played Ballad of Bands, as you probably remember, is when you're on stage, you're singing a song and people are singing along with you, as opposed, and it's not like you're over top of them. It's not them just listening to you. You know, it's everyone singing the same song for their own reasons. And it's, for me, that's sort of what music's about. It's the whole experience, as opposed to, you know, it's not just about the person playing on stage. It's an everyone thing.
Absolutely. It's about this feeling and this kind of surge of energy that we're all giving each other.
Exactly.
And this
is as deep as we're ever going to get.
That's as deep as possible. You got to get hit on the harder show, ladies and gentlemen. It is
as deep as a 20 down a sewer.
As deep as a 20 down a sewer. Oh, God. That's what I'm trying to reference stuff. I just look around the room. I'm like, So anyway.
The name of that song, I've been thinking about
the name of the song,
that
folks.
whole time, finally,
Gargoyles
it's come to me. Gargoyles in Darkness and whatever it was. It's by Rhapsody. It's Gargoyles, Angels of Darkness, I believe was the name of the song, if I recall correctly.
That's his, like,
the ultimate 18-minute, 19-minute symphonic power metal.
Power metal. Gargoyles and
yeah. When we learned, I remember showing that song to my teacher, and just he was like, you know what, this is pretty cool, I want to learn this too. And we both just like went through this entire like 4-minute intro and learned this song. It's awesome. It's like just completely classical guitar, and it's so cool. And it makes no sense in the style of music, but
whatever. Hey, what the hell?
it sounds cool. It is cool.
It's when you're dealing with like symphonic metal and power metal, like they basically can do whatever the hell they want.
Anything
and it
goes.
Doesn't matter.
As long as it involves gargoyles, then you're set.
Then you're gonna go. Were you always kind of wanting to play like the style of music that you play now, like kind of punk rock, kind of whatever you guys want? I call it punk rock. I don't know what to call it anymore.
I'm not even sure what to call it. If it's like politically correct to call it punk rock anymore, but I don't know what it would be because it's not pop punk. It's not punk rock. It's not. It's getting too specific. It's rock and roll. Rock and roll.
It's rock and roll.
Yeah.
This is all rock and roll, baby.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, seeing as the time that I sort of really got into guitar, that was when I was, Sum 41's Green Day, that kind of stuff. I'd say that's probably, seeing as that's still sticking around, that's probably definitely the style that I've wanted to play. Seeing as that's especially what we're writing now too, is very similar to that.
Yeah, and are you guys kind of like actively focusing on writing that kind of music, or like you're going, okay, hey man, that's a little too metalcore. Back it up. I would not
put it that way. Reason being, we're kind of mixing genres in a way. It's kind of cool actually, because that Evan has a bit of more of a different musical taste from me. He's more into the metal than I am. Yeah. And same thing with Chase. He's more on Evan's side. Derek's kind of more on my side. Derek's the drummer. I know you struggled. I know you struggled remembering his name.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think it was when I gave you guys a shout out on the
something
band
like
thing.
That.
I was like,
and drummer guy,
Evan, drummer, whatever your name is. I'm a dick, but whatever.
But yeah, we in the first song that we've just started recording, we've sort of mixed. It's like punk for the most part, kind of pop punky, and then there's like a breakdown section almost at the end. And it's pretty cool, actually. I'm a huge fan of it. Which I mean,
that's good.
I'd hope I'd be a fan of it.
I mean,
we're the ones writing it, so
if not, you're screwed. It's
like I hate this, but I'm playing it anyway.
I always would say to kids, it was my favorite thing when I would have kids and like, oh, like check out our song, and I'd be like, okay, let me ask you a question.
Do you like it?
Do you like it? I love it. How long has it been a song? Oh, like a week. Give it a month.
I was gonna say give it,
and then in that month, if you like it, give it a year. Can you play this song over and over again for the rest of your life and still enjoy it? Can you play this riff over and over again for the rest of your life and still enjoy it? If the answer is no, it's not a good song for you. It might be an amazing song, but if you're going to hate yourself every time you have to play it,
don't release
it. You can keep it, but don't release it.
Exactly.
Never release stuff too early or whatever or anything. Always take the time to do it. So what you're basically saying is we're not going to see like Forsaken Empire change their name and go like play like symphonic power metal.
That's definitely not our current stance. That's for sure. Yeah,
there's going to be no like
no sudden change of heart
because the name could totally like I could see you guys like rocking 100% like symphonic. Hundo Pino.
Hundo Pino. I mean, like it's it involves empires and empires involve castles and castles involve who knows gargoyles.
Forsaken Empire with their new album Gargoyles and Darkness of the Dragons. Illuminati it starts off with like a 30-minute power ballad or something.
That'd be perfect. I can totally imagine me doing symphonic metal, trying to sing that kind of like oh god.
I can see it. I can see you guys doing style. That. I could see you guys doing that. I'd buy that album.
Oh man. Buy it, one thing. Enjoy it, that's a whole other thing.
Well, it's like me like you'll never see me like playing like say
symphonic opera metal.
Yeah, like like I'll sit down and listen to like oh my god, like some of the like more obscure metal I listen to and stuff like well even like say like I'll sit down and listen to like Whitechapel. I love Whitechapel. I'm not going to sit down and play Whitechapel.
Right.
I love Crowbar. I love listening to Crowbar, but it's not very often I learn a Crowbar song. Where it's like I'll like sit down and listen to like Godsmack and I'm like yes I'll play like every Godsmack song ever made, but it's just funny like how sometimes like you'll be into music but it's like like I'm not gonna play this, we're gonna play it's like hey we're a punk rock band or rock band or whatever but we all also love symphonic metal like it's just like but we're also heavily influenced by symphonic
opera metal,
symphonic opera grunge metal.
We'll just get like 3 more guitarists and only do like fifth soloing on top of everything.
I want you guys to be like a 12-piece with I can see it too.
Sounds like Suits.
Sounds like Suits. Oh, we'll get to that. what I wanted to do today, Mo, was focus on kind of you and that kind of thing. It's been a lot of fun. We're getting a lot of laughs and that kind of thing. I have one more question for you that I want to ask.
But does it involve symphonic opera metal?
It doesn't involve symphonic opera metal, but
All right, well,
I still think it's a good question. Just kind of getting ready to wrap it up. Do you have kind of like a favorite memory as far as with you starting to learn how to play guitar and that kind of thing? Like, was there like a moment you would just like you think back to and you're like, oh, like, this is an amazing moment, like where like you were just like, oh my god, like this is the best thing ever, like this is awesome?
Probably the time that kind of actually, I'm surprised it was that easy for me to remember something that just kind of popped into my head like that. I was expecting to have to think about that. When I sort of first started learning guitar, I'd learned probably 2 songs at this point.
That's 2 more than me.
Went to, I think it was like a family Christmas or my great grandmother's like 100th birthday or something like that. It was one of those like momentous occasions, and I ended up playing guitar with my cousin and my grandfather who I was talking about, and we played for the family. And that was like the coolest thing for younger me at the time, because I'd watched them do this for how many years now, and then eventually I'd actually was able to play with them at the same time, and I was able to do that, and I was like, oh, this is super cool. I was a huge fan of it. And I was like, performing this is fun. I like this.
It was great, and that's what kind of sparked you.
That's what kind of kept me doing this whole, the first couple bands that I've been in and all the recording stuff, and that's what kind of started that whole thing.
Cool, right on. Can I tell you mine real quick?
Yeah, of course.
I was reading it you, but can I tell you mine real quick? No, only me. This is the Michael show now. Screw you. Because it's like, I've asked people this before, and they're like, "What do you know?" Like, I don't know, and I'm like, because mine is when I first started playing guitar, I had this old Ashbury acoustic, the Zeller's brand, and I didn't come with a guitar tuner.
Wow, that's rough.
Yeah,
I mean, internet probably wasn't really a thing yet.
Yeah, no, in like 2005, 2006, it wasn't a thing.
Especially guitar tuners on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't a thing. So I would like try and learn stuff because guitar tabs were like getting popular and they were a thing, and like it would just sound terrible. My like parents and stuff would be like, "Oh yeah, that sounds good, you're so good," and it would just sound like garbage, and I'd be like, "Oh, I suck." Even like just playing chords and stuff would always sound like crap. So the day that I bought a guitar tuner,
changed your life.
I went home and I tuned my guitar, and like I tuned my guitar, and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm like playing chords and stuff. I'm like, I can actually play guitar. Yeah, like I'm actually not bad. And then because it was like a year into me playing guitar, I didn't have a guitar tuner. It was just
didn't tune a guitar.
It's pretty funny how like looking back, like where I am now, I'm like doing like guitar stuff as like a part, like a side gig and stuff, and I'm like, holy crap. But I tuned my guitar and I was like playing chords and like I was like, oh, you can actually play, cool, like
it's like, oh wow, and then, like, someone who's not useless.
Okay, cool. So I'm like sitting there playing Enter Sandman by Metallica. And like I play it through all the way, and then my old man comes down the hallway and he goes, I actually recognize that. Like you can actually play guitar. Cool. And I was like, yes.
I did a thing.
I did a thing, guys. So it's funny looking back sometimes when we think back to memories like that. Just where we are now is like,
it's a huge difference.
I mean, I still can't play a song, but that's not the point.
Like, honestly, I think it was probably yesterday, actually. I'm sure you'll remember the Spider, the little, absolutely. The little 1x12 that I had. Well, still have it. I'd totally just 100% forgotten that it even existed until like yesterday, where I was cleaning out like a closet or something like that, and I just kind of stumbled upon. I was like, "This thing's tiny.
It's so small. How am I using this?
Oh my!" I was like, wow.
"That's the little the 15 watt."
It was like a 30.
That's what I'm using right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was the same. Yeah, it's just I'm so used to using the 412.
Yeah, and when you go from that, it's like, whoa.
I was like, this thing is so small. It's got like 4 knobs on it.
Where's all the knobs?
Like, I don't how to think.
Where is my EQ?
What is tone?
What is tone?
I see no mid switch.
I still can't figure it out.
How do I scoop the mids?
How do I scoop the mids? What is a mid scoop? And how do I find it? Mids suck.
It's like I heard that cutting out the middle of the speaker helps.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay. I have this guy come into the store one time. Comes in with a little amp he wanted to sell it, right? Puts it up on the counter. And I'm kind of looking at it. I'm like, this doesn't look right. Like something's off about it. I couldn't figure out what it was. And he's like, oh, I bought it for like $300, blah, 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 blah. It was a tube amp. I can't remember what brand it was. It was a pretty cheap amp. And so he had like this grill cover on it I realized it was the grill cover. It was like almost solid. It wasn't the original grill cover. I'm like, why would he be covering that? And I'm like, okay, what'd he do? So I plugged it in and it just sounded atrocious. Like it was just like I can't even.
Perfect.
You ever like plugged your headphones into like a guitar like pedal or just directly into your guitar to hear
absolute
it?
Trash.
That's basically how it sounded, but like worse.
That's impressive. So it's
Like
kind of
just-
like plugging into a like
You ever plug
like
into,
an
a
amp
potato?
sim. I hate it when I accidentally plug into a potato as opposed to my amp. Honestly, it happens to me like
So do I.
every show.
Happens to
Honestly,
me at least once.
I just bring a potato with me. I just happen to have one. I just accidentally plug into a potato. I just sit here, and the tech and I are just sitting here, just wondering why is this not working?
Why is this potato not producing tone?
Where are the mids?
Where are the mids in this tone? Why is this potato not producing? They're plugging pedals into it.
It's like, do I need a new battery? Am I like, are my cables broken?
I'm gonna make a meme. I'm gonna tag you in it. It's gonna be a potato. Like, where are my mids? I don't know why I found that so funny.
Or just too many mids.
Too many mids.
Too much
Where's the
mid.
mid scoop? Where's the bright switch? Because it works on just like
Not enough gain.
not enough gain. My line 6 sounds better.
Needs more modeling.
Oh yeah, needs more modeling features. Oh my god, I can't. But like it was atrocious. Like it was so bad, and like that was bad as a potato. Pretty bad. We've lost it here on the Hunter Show, folks.
Too soon.
Too soon. I'm going to definitely reference this like in a year
Potato
from now.
amps.
Potato amps by the Harder Show.
Oh man, if I were to ever somehow actually sort of moderately get my name out there for something, I don't care what it is, or it's like art or something, I don't know, I will make an amp potato branded.
Just make a potato.
The potato.
Like, take a potato. Put a speaker on
Put a speaker on, and then put a power section on the back of it.
Just a potato amplifier.
A speaker plugged into a potato with a single power section in the back.
Yeah, just one.
That's it.
Just a volume. That's all you need. The potato has superb tone already.
Superb.
Too many mids though.
And imagine on the box that superb potato tone we all know and love.
And it like charge like $1,000 for it. See if anyone buys it. You know, if there's that one guy out there, he's gonna be like, "This is the tone I've been looking for.
This is incredible.
This is the best tone I've ever
It'll be
heard."
like 9-inch nails.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy who plays his guitar with cheese or something too.
Oh,
But anyway, but so this guy comes in, he has the amp and like different grill cover and stuff. So I'm like, okay, like something's wrong. I plug it in, sounds like a potato, sounds terrible, and I'm like, I couldn't figure out what was off about it, and he kind of started to sweat a little bit. And I was like, what did you do to this amp? Like, because should not sound like this. I want to say it was like a Bugera or something, one
Something
of the
that
V5s or
should have
something.
been-
Yeah, like it should
should
have
have
been
been good.
okay,
Yeah.
and it just was awful. And he kind of like kept looking at the grill cover, right? And I'm like, oh, what did this guy do? So I take the grill cover off, and the speaker had a massive slice in it. Like it was just cut in half, like, and it was just like it was like flapping. And I'm like,
Kind of like a potato skin.
yeah, pretty much like a potato skin. Oh my god, potato skin amp covers.
Make sure you use the right power section, kids, or else you'll blow your potato.
I'll blow your potato up, kids. Make some popcorn. Oh, that's not popcorn.
God.
Make French fries.
I was gonna say potato
What do you-
popcorn. That's
Potato
new.
popcorn. That's a new thing. I invented it. But so he's basically just like, yeah, I sliced the speaker. I'm like, why? He's like, oh, I heard it gives me better tone. And I was like, how long have you been playing guitar? I figured he'd say like a year. He's like, I've been playing for like 25 years. And I was like,
Just for face palm the microphone.
face palms. Oh shit. Face palms the mic. Sorry, folks. Just a second.
It's just like saying that a baked potato has a better tone than a boiled potato.
Well,
if you were to boil potatoes,
I mean, you know, there are the folks out there that boil their strings and thinks that it gives them life again.
that is a terrible idea.
The amount of people I had come in and like just this weird smell coming from their guitar, and I'm like, did you boil your strings? Yeah, I have about 3 times. I find it gives them better tone. I'm just like,
I find it you're retarded.
I'm just sitting there just looking at this individual like
just too soon.
Oh my god, I can't. Well, I think that's a good place to end it off for today. Enough on a high funny note. So the moral of this story here is, kids, is that
Eat your veggies.
Eat your veggies.
Not your potatoes. Though.
Not your potatoes. Remember that if you're going to buy a potato and use
that's the only proper
you're gonna
use
need
for
a
potato.
You're going to need a mid-scoop pedal of some kind or mid-boost, depending on your preference.
Make sure to get a some kind of MXR EQ, and you'll be all set to go.
And you'll be good to go.
I heard that tube screamers are really great in front of potatoes. Or maybe even better through the effects loop.
Maybe effects loop with a potato. Got a good tone.
That's starchy tone.
Yeah. That nice starchy tone we all know and love. Put a little bit of sour cream on it.
You want to make it creamy? Oh, there's ways.
It's sour cream, buddy. A little bit of a brighter tone. Put your chives on there and call it a day. Oh, this joke is dead. Oh god, it's been all nice, like the whole podcast, some nice questions and stuff. Then we end up talking about potatoes. Oh, it is what it is. Mike, real quick, want to plug any social medias and stuff for the band and that kind of thing? Your social medias and that, if you want to follow you.
We're on Facebook at Forsaken Empire. We're at Instagram at Forsaken Empire CA. I think I haven't looked at that in a long time, to be honest.
Well, I'll tag them in all their stuff
that sounds
here.
Good. Yeah, we got a Facebook and Instagram and a YouTube channel, which I don't think we've touched. We haven't touched the YouTube channel much. I think there's one video of a live show on there. That's it. But
cool.
There's going to be some stuff coming up soon.
Cool, right on. You have SoundCloud too, right?
I do have a SoundCloud as well, which I also have not touched in a while. I've been a little busy with school and work.
So busy trying to design this potato amp.
My potato amp. It's in heavy development stage right now. I've got about 3 prototypes that I've narrowed it down to. I'm trying to figure out which tubes are best.
Yeah, that's going to be the
that's the tough one, right?
That's the tough one.
Maybe some greenbacks in front of it.
All right, Michael, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you on part 2.
Sounds good.
All right, so that was my podcast with Michael. The first part, anyway. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. I think it was a great podcast, especially near the end. We just started cracking up so much about that damn potato amp thing. Just, I can't even believe that was a thing. I said it as like a one-off joke, and it just became something more than it was. I really think that you guys are really going to enjoy the part 2 as well. I think it's a lot. It's pretty funny, but I still try and keep it somewhat serious. That's what I like to do on the podcast is if I do a podcast and we're laughing and having a good time and we're making jokes, but I still get to answer some questions and actually learn some cool stuff about the person I'm talking with or about a topic we're discussing, then I think that's a good time. I don't, the Hotter Show isn't a podcast where you sit and listen and you go, yes, quiet. I completely agree with this. This is a very intelligent conversation, because that's just not what you're going to get here. And if you're listening for that, then I apologize, because you've never gotten it the last 85 episodes. Like I said in episode 84, remember karate content on the Hotter Show? I remember. I'm going to go ahead and log on to SoundCloud, listen to the Hotter Show, and my cue's gone. It's gone. It's all gone. Just like to make memes and the member berry meme I made. I just think that stuff's funny, roasting myself and that kind of thing, and talking about potato amps. And I'm never gonna have to make that a meme. I'm gonna have to go buy a potato, because I don't have a potato for some reason on hand, and plug some guitar cables into it. But we'll see what happens. Where the hell are my mids? I think it'd be funny. But either way, thank you guys all so much again for tuning in. If you are a new listener to the podcast, thank you so much for checking it out. I seriously appreciate it. Even if you're never going to listen to it again after Michael's on. I still appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to give the Hotter Show a like on Facebook. Follow me as well, so you keep up with everything that's going on the Facebook, because there is an option to actually make sure you follow and see my posts. Something I've learned that I didn't realize. If you don't follow me on Facebook, you will not actually see stuff that I post. If you also are a Twitter user, you can hit me up on the Twitter at The Hotter Show, all one word. And if you are an Instagram person, you can hit me up on there as well at The Hotter Show, all one word. I post pictures of what's going on, and I'll post a meme and silly stuff and all that kind of fun stuff. My Instagram's always a hoot. And if you are a Snapchat user, you can follow me on Snapchat at Terrence James, Terrance, James, James. If you guys are a Snapchat follower of me, it's my personal account, but I still use it for the Harder Show stuff. If you're a follower of me on Snapchat, you saw kind of the sneak peek that Michael from last week that we did when he was over. I sent a little snap out saying, "Oh, Michael's on the podcast." I do stuff like that. So you'll hear first and know first who's on the podcast and that kind of thing. I like to hype them up that way for my Snapchat people, because generally the listeners who are on my Snapchat are like my real devoted, followers and listeners. So thank you everybody for checking that out. And thank you for checking out the podcast regardless of how you're doing it. If you're listening on the SoundCloud, be sure to hit the follow button to keep up with everything that's going on with that. Leave a like on this podcast. Comment your life away if you have anything at all that you want to say. If you are listening on the YouTube, be sure to leave a like or dislike on this video depending on what you thought of it. Of course, comment your life away if you have anything you want to say, you want to ask questions about something Michael said, or you have an idea for the potato amp or something, let me know. And of course, subscribe to the Harder Show. We're still building the YouTube brand up, I feel that every single week that passes, the YouTube brand kind of grows just a tiny bit stronger. Every time I get a new subscriber or I get a new like or something, I feel like it's just slowly building the brand. And that's kind of what I wanted to do on the YouTube. I didn't want the YouTube to explode too quickly or anything. So I think that's doing great. And of course, last but not least, if you guys are listening on the iTunes or on something through iTunes on an app or something like that, be sure to check out the iTunes. And if you do, be sure to leave a rating for the Harder Show. Let me know what you thought of this podcast. Comment away so I know who you are, so I can thank you personally. We've been holding steady at 10 5-star ratings. Very happy about that. So of course, if you want to give the Harder Show a little 5-star rating, I appreciate that. Be sure to comment if you do, so I know who you are, so I can give you a shout out on the podcast or thank you directly through a message or something like that. And of course, subscribe to the Harder Show so you keep up with everything that's going on. Once you do that, you don't even have to think about it. Every time a new episode is uploaded, it will be downloaded to the device of your choosing. It's that easy, guys. But all that fun stuff out of the way, I am going to sign off here. I will see you guys on Sunday for part 2 of this podcast with Michael. And next time on the Harder Show. Take it easy.